Welcome, everyone. So good to see you here this morning. Here we gather to hear God's good news for this world and for ourselves. May our eyes and ears be open to see and hear the Spirit moving in our midst. May our hearts be open to the recreation that begins for us here in this community. May you be blessed here in worship. Let us breathe in the peace of God, the light of love. And we give thanks for all who gather here, including the Jewish congregation of Kol Haneshama, and we give thanks for them and our partnership. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded traditional land of the Coast Salish people, including the Duwamish and the Suquamish people past and present. And we honor with gratitude the land itself and the Suquamish and Duwamish tribes. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you have a place here at Alki United Church of Christ.
I'm Cinda. My pronouns are she, her. Please rise if you are able and join in the call to worship. The God of new beginnings begins with us here in this place. The God of recreation recreates dead ends into new living. The God of dreams dreams in us a new world. The God of wholeness brings a new kind of harmony into this world. The God of vision envisions new possibilities in us. Come, let us worship our wondrous God. In my life, Lord. Our first scripture is a responsive one. It is from Psalm 98, reimagined by Ray Jordan in Living Psalm Book, UCC Witness and Worship Artist Group. And again, it's read responsively, so please join with me. Open your mouth and bellow a new song, a song that only your heart can sing. God has done marvelous things. God is strong and we are safe. We are protected by God's strength. The nations are strengthened by God's justice. God has done marvelous things. God's love extends to all. God's faithfulness reaches to the ends of the earth. God has done marvelous things. Let us celebrate the God of our faith. Let us live the faith of our ancestors. Tell the world, throw a party. God has done marvelous things. Crank up the music, bring in the dancing. Let your voice do the praising and your feet do the testifying. God has done marvelous things. The whole earth praises our God. The sea can't keep quiet. The rivers applaud God's greatness, and the mountains shout for joy. Marvelous things. The safest place to be is in the arms of our loving God, for God sees all. God knows all, and God brings justice to all. For God has done marvelous things. Our gospel scripture is found in Luke chapter 21, verses 5 through 19. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, "As for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down." They asked him, "Teacher, when will this be? And what will be the sign that this is about to take place?" And he said, "Beware that you are not led astray. For many will come in my name and say, 'Oh, I am he,' or 'The time is near.' Do not go after them. When you hear of wars and insurrections, do not be terrified, for these things must take place first, but the end will not follow immediately. Then he said to them, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, and in various places famines and plagues, and there'll be dreadful portents and great signs from heaven. But before all this occurs, they will arrest you and persecute you. They will hand you over to synagogues and prisons, and you will be brought before kings and governors because of my name. This will give you an opportunity to testify. So make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance, for I will give you words and a wisdom that none of your opponents will be able to withstand or contradict. You will be betrayed, even by parents and brothers, by relatives and friends, and they will put some of you to death. You will be hated by all because of my name. But not a hair of your head will perish. By your endurance, you will gain your souls. The word of God for the people of God.
When the Alki United Church of Christ Search Committee interviewed me, their first question was for me to tell a bit about my spiritual journey. Well, that's a really big question. And so I tried to summarize, speaking quickly for a full 30 minutes, hardly without a pause. And then I realized I had left out some of the most important things, so I just kept on talking. I don't know how long. I'm relieved my long-windedness did not affect their decision to recommend calling me as your pastor. I couldn't figure out how to say it in any kind of succinct way and still left so much unsaid because every bit of our lives is spiritual journey. Our story, who we are, where we've been, what we look forward to, it's all testimony. In today's text in Luke, Jesus tells his followers that they will soon be arrested for following him and said, this will give you the opportunity to testify. They would have a chance to give witness to what they had seen, heard, and experienced. This language of testimony is borrowed from the courtroom. The entire New Testament is a testimony of faith. So if Jesus' followers are the witnesses, who or what is on trial? Who are we defending? What is the truth we are supposed to tell? We are to simply say what we have seen, what we have heard, to tell how God, how love has shown up in our lives. The invitations that I have had to tell a bit about my spiritual journey, they've helped me remember who I am as God's beloved. And they've guided me to see Christ in the world and in my life. I've also had opportunities to testify in courtrooms. These were anxiety-provoking, intimidating experiences. The courtroom is a mostly unfamiliar environment to me outside of film and television. And while I played a defense attorney once in a high school play. In one case, some years ago, I was asked to defend someone's character, to bear witness to my experience of that person. It felt like a huge weight of responsibility. It was really important, this opportunity to clearly convey the truth of what I had seen and heard of this person. We have opportunities to testify to what we have seen and heard, to how we experience God. In election season, we may find we have even more opportunities to talk about the intersection of our faith and politics, about how our voting is grounded on love of neighbor, on the last shall be first, on the meek shall inherit the earth. I wonder what opportunities we have to testify, to tell the truth, to give witness to what we have seen, heard, and experienced. Many Christian practices like contemplation or discernment can be done either in solitude or in community. Testimony, though, is a deeply communal practice. A witness needs a hearer. It is a blessing to be heard, to have our story received and affirmed. People and places are written into these stories. My faith was nurtured for many years at Ferrysburg Christian Reformed Church in West Michigan, where my dad was a pastor. It was here that I sensed my own calling to ministry. I sang solos, attended Sunday school. My mom was by far the best teacher, and she gave us goldfish crackers. And I daydreamed a lot during the sermons. When I was 11, I met with the governing body of the church and testified to them, describing how I sensed God moving in my life. And the next week, I stood in front of the congregation to give my testimony, as was the custom. At Ferrysburg Church, I knew I was loved. This church community testified to the reality of God's love, and the lessons and stories of the Bible were woven into the fabric of our lives. My faith was formed not only by church and family, but also by Christian schools. And I was invited to articulate my experience of God from a young age. When I've gone back and read early testimonies that I've written, sometimes called credos, which is, credo is Greek for I believe, I see how much my theology, what I believe about God, has evolved. But the core is the same. God is love and calls me to love. When I worked as an intern at Plymouth Congregational Church in Seattle, I was asked to offer my faith journey story as part of an adult education series. I was honored to tell my story, but also felt much trepidation at bearing my soul to my new community of faith, being pretty new at the time to the UCC. My story was warmly received and affirmed. And this kind of invitation to testify is an incredible opportunity for people to search their souls and put words to how God has moved them. And it really blesses those who hear it. Testimony accentuates a community's unity and diversity at the same time. When we share our stories, we see how we are both alike and different, and are reminded that we are in this together. In the United Church of Christ denomination, those seeking ordination need to write a comprehensive paper to demonstrate readiness for ministry. In 2003, when I had written mine, I asked several seasoned UCC folks to read it before I submitted it. One of them strongly suggested that I rewrite the section that made up my credo, what I believe. This person said, it's too affirming of an historic Christian creed. The committee isn't going to like this, he told me. It's not what they're looking for. I was confused because the UCC prides itself on its theological diversity. The advice didn't sit right with me, but still I rewrote it, focusing on different aspects of my theology. After meeting with the committee, I regretted changing my paper. They wanted to know me. They wanted me to testify, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I'm convinced that they would not have rejected me after hearing my original testimony. but would have supported me just as much as they had with my rewritten version. I received that advice on my paper, I believe, because the United Church of Christ is not what's known as a creedal denomination. Unlike many of our sibling denominations, such as the Presbyterians, the Lutherans, the Methodists, we don't ask members to agree with a written creed or belief statement. Creeds are considered in the UCC to be testimonies of faith, not tests of faith. Yet, these ecumenical belief statements, I believe, can be a really helpful tool in helping us articulate our testimony. The historic creeds of the church, as well as our own UCC statement of faith, can be found in our hymnal towards the back, if you ever want to check them out. When I taught confirmation classes in the Episcopal tradition, I invited adults in the congregation to come and share their faith story with the young people in the class. Some of them responded with, "Who, me? Who am I to share my story?" They didn't believe that their journey was spiritual enough, or Christian enough, or Episcopal enough, but each of them did it anyway. All of them told me how blessed they were to have that opportunity to testify. It was a privilege for them to model for the students how testimony includes the breadth of human experience: grief, joy, doubt, sadness, all of it. Today, my testimony bears witness to the God of liberation. Liberation theology is a Christian perspective that emphasizes the need for us to confront systems of oppression, aligning ourselves with those who are marginalized, recognizing Jesus as one who confronted oppression and systems of domination. Sometimes I think progressive Christians get stuck in the trap of identifying ourselves in terms of what we are not. We are not like those other Christians. We don't believe this or that about God. Yet progressive Christianity is incredibly compelling in itself, apart from demonizing mainstream Christianity. Following the way of Jesus from a perspective of liberation is standing in solidarity with those whom society has pushed aside. It is a radical love of neighbor. It goes way beyond acceptance to deep affirmation that we are each created in the image of God in diversity and wholeness. I haven't come to this understanding on my own. I internalized it when I served as minister of spiritual play at Valley and Mountain United Methodist Church here in Seattle. Liberation theology is the lens through which this church sees the world, and that had a profound impact on me and my faith. Our testimonies are shaped by the places we've been, the people we've met. Anne Lamott opens her book, Traveling Mercies, by saying, "My coming to faith did not start with a leap, but rather a series of staggers from what seemed like one safe place to another. Like lily pads, round and green, these places summoned me and then held me up while I grew. Each prepared me for the next leaf on which I would land, and in this way I moved across the swamp of doubt and fear." I love this image of lily pads because I can see how all of the communities of faith I've been part of have summoned me and held me up. That's what I was thinking of today when I chose which stole to wear. This is the stole created by the children at Eagle Harbor Church, which was the church of my first call. Another community of faith that's summoned me and held me up. I wonder, what were the places that have summoned you? Who are the people who have held you up? Where has your faith been nurtured? all of those people that held you up while you grew, they become part of your testimony of faith. As witnesses, we are instructed to tell the truth about what we have seen and heard. Testimony, truth-telling, it helps us remember who we are. And there are a lot of ways that we give our testimony here at Alki United Church of Christ. It happens when we make announcements. It happens when we talk to each other at coffee hour. And often what is voiced goes way beyond small talk or conveying information. Truth is told. Experience of the sacred is named. Our lives are made transparent to one another. We share the stories of our lives. I wonder if there is someone in your life that you might ask, tell me a bit about your spiritual journey. Perhaps they will invite you to share a bit of yours. Just like my somewhat chaotic answering of that interview question, eloquence is not required. What does Jesus ask of us? To let go, to trust. You might have the opportunity to testify and think, I don't know what to say. You might be anxious that you won't know how to articulate it. Perfect. Then you are prepared to rely completely on God. Putting our faith into words is how we discover what we believe. Jesus said, so make up your minds not to prepare your defense in advance, for I will give you the word. And so I invite you to take some time in this coming week to write down something of what you have seen, heard, or experienced of God. Perfectly articulated sentences are not required. You could even just jot down some bullet points. Here is an opportunity to testify. Ask yourself, how is God still speaking in my life? What have I seen? What have I heard? What's my testimony? Breathe in, breathe out, and ask Jesus to inspire your words. And then consider sharing it with someone in your life who can be a hearer to your witness. Invite them to hear you into a deeper faith. I'm always honored to hear testimony. And then perhaps come back to it in a year or every year and ask, has anything changed? You might want to add an addendum or have multiple additions. We keep evolving. We keep changing because God still speaks. And as we continue to get to know each other better, Alki UCC, I look forward to hearing you more fully, to honor your stories. May we see the opportunity to testify, to tell the truth about what we have seen, heard, and experienced of God, of love. May we rely on Jesus to inspire us. And when you tell your story, may you be blessed by the remembering of those people and places that summoned you, that held you up. And may your story be a blessing to the hearer. You have the opportunity to testify. And whether it is made up of some notes you've jotted down on the back of a receipt, or a whole book, a brief conversation, or stories told over many cups of coffee, your testimony is a gift to God. It is a blessing to the world. We are all witnesses.